Welcome, everybody, to another live stream here at Blue Collar Logic. I'm one of the hosts, Jason Seiler, and with me, as always,
this guy.
is Dave Morrison. How you doing, brother?
Hey, guys, sorry for talking over the intro. I know you like to hear your loud guitars without a voice in the background.
I think I muted you, so you were okay.
Good.
You didn't ruin it this time.
I only have to screw up 3 or 4 times before Jason starts covering for me on his end.
Yeah, when we were here live together, you were all talking, and I was like looking at you like, shh.
I'm getting so used to doing these Zoom calls that I'm half expecting to start seeing like 200 people, like little squares.
Oh yeah.
We should have everybody else.
No, you know what? We should do that. We've talked about that before.
Everybody in the audience right now could be zooming in.
Right. We could set that up one day, have a special day where we take 20 of our best people here and have them come in and join the conversation.
200.
I know, right? He's like, everybody gets to say one word.
No, that'd be a good thing. We could do that. We could have some kind of just to figure it out in advance a little bit. People could I don't know. I can't talk. I had a migraine this morning, so I'm recovering.
Well, you with a migraine is going to be better than a lot of people on their best days.
Huh?
Yeah. I don't know what we're talking about. So we want to thank anybody who's tuning in right now. It looks like a few of you are catching on. Let's go. Love watching you guys from Indiana. Keep it up, guys. You guys are the best. Thank you guys for commenting. We love it when you guys comment. If you do the super chats, we like to read them and answer the questions, anything that you guys have for us.
It's easier for us because then we don't have to do any thinking.
Well, we do have to do thinking, but we don't have to think about what we're going to talk about. We have to think about what it is you guys want us to talk about. So, yeah, if you guys come up with something, let us know. And but I say let's get started on something that's kind of funny, kind of sad, and something that shows the political environment we're in. And
this has to have something to do with AOC.
That has something to do with AOC. I'm going to pull it up right here.
Kind of funny and kind of sad.
Yeah. So AOC went down to Puerto Rico to her abuelas, to her grandmas, and she showed pictures. And you're seeing some of the pictures on the screen right now. And her roof is falling in. It's damaged from the hurricane and so on. And
her ceiling's falling.
Yeah, her ceiling's falling. It's leaking. Her roof is leaking for sure.
Right.
And then AOC says it's all Trump's fault for not helping out and all that stuff. And so Matt Walsh from the Daily Wire said, you know what? You're a pretty wealthy person at this point, AOC. Why don't you help your grandma? Better yet, I will set up something to help your grandma. So he started this GoFundMe page. It raised over $104,000 for AOC's Abuela.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
And the thing is that probably I would say that 99.9% of those people are Republicans.
Of course.
Giving money to a woman they don't know who is
I think
to somebody they don't like.
Well, I think part of that's almost a joke too. I think, sure. I think some of it is a donation because they know she's not going to take it. All right. And so Matt updated us today, I think, and Jared, our friend Jared.
Oh, they don't think she's going to take the money?
They sent a leak. I'm going to go over to this. So it says here, Dear Matt, we are in touch with the beneficiary's family, and they've made clear they will not be accepting the funds raised.
Can you imagine that? So here you've got your mother is down there, your grandmother is down there. She's got a leaky roof. All this money's come in. You could probably fix every leaky roof on her in her whole general vicinity, but they won't take it because it's got the stink of Republicans on it.
Well, they're not going to take it for that reason, and also it really shows what it was about, right? It was about politics.
Sure.
She was making a political statement, and then when people decided to help her family, she said, "No, she's okay." That's how she said it. It's like, she's okay. But at first she was in dire straits, right? It was the end of the world for her poor grandmother who's down there suffering from an illness, and now her roof's leaking, and it's all Donald Trump's fault. Right. And then Republicans want to help, and they say, no, it's not like she's that bad, but Trump is bad.
Well, you know what this reminds me of is remember when Rashida Tlaib was going to go visit her grandma in Palestine, and or aunt or whatever that was, and because she was going to take a bunch of people with her or something like that, and what was the deal on that? For some reason, she couldn't get the photo op that she'd wanted because they were going to, it was I think in Gaza, because the Israelis wouldn't play along with the whole plan for it to be a big political Photoshop. So she said, "I'm not going to visit her after all."
That's right.
So
she canceled
it's not
her. Right.
It's not like I really care about Granny.
Right.
I just want to go over there and be able to have a camera crew with me so I can show all how bad the Israelis are. The Israelis were going to play along.
That's right.
So, never mind.
Never mind, because it was never about visiting anyone. It was about.
And that's what AOL is doing now. Never mind.
Right.
She could live with her. She could live with her leaky roof.
GOUSMC, Go USMC, 1983 wrote Hobo Dojo Roof Fund.
I know, right?
$104,000. Let's get it. Let's get it.
Well, which brings me around to thinking about you guys. I posted that little video yesterday afternoon, just to thank you guys for coming through so big for the Uganda orphanage. Our friend Julius over there, and I didn't really even that wasn't even an ask for more money, but I did put a link there because I'm an inveterate fundraiser, so I mean. But I didn't say anything about it. I didn't say if there was nothing like, hey, if you want to give a little bit, the thing's still open. I just put the link real quiet there in the description, and we raised another $2,000 or more.
Yeah,
I think it's about $2,500 just overnight, just to help people that we don't even know somewhere. Because I think one thing that's nice about this particular fundraiser is you see the building being built.
Right.
I've been with it since it was a pile of bricks in the dirt. So you see it actually being done, and it's. Although I got to say, the last picture I posted, I was going, clearly they don't have the same code we have.
The same building, I'm sure they don't.
It's like the roof is with two by fours, and we'd need at least 2x6s over here, I'm sure.
Now, Julius is doing great work over there. I've read a little bit about the story, and yeah, the reason people help out people like Julius is because people like Julius, right?
Yeah, because you're putting money directly into the hands of a guy who actually has this whole bunch of kids there, and he's putting them through school, and he's giving them. They go to Bible classes and all of that stuff. Everyone's learning to read and write. Everyone's getting 3 meals a day. I mean, it's not going into some government coffer somewhere.
Right.
And that's the same thing with the Mozambique's people. I researched that because I had seen this video about. This guy that I really dig, that he's a Swedish statistician, Hans Rosling, who I won't get into right now, but he had done a video about that, about a documentary about how important a bicycle can be. Right? I'm not hyping this right now, guys. I'm just telling the story. But I just got curious, and I started looking around and seeing if there was like a bicycle company somewhere in Mozambique that maybe I could get involved with. And it turns out there's this young couple, and they've done exactly the thing that I was hoping there would be. And they manufacture the bicycles there too. So they have all these Mozambicans who are actually building the bicycles there on site. And then they sell them. They have the front part of their shop and they got a really nice facility. The front part of it is a commercial bicycle shop. You come in and you buy bikes, you get your bikes fixed, and the back half of it is where they stack up all these bikes, and in their spare time, their employees put together these bikes that have been bought by people like us. And then they, at a given point, they put them in a truck and they take them out to a village, and it's like this giant Christmas. All the kids in a whole school somewhere will get a bike.
Right.
Or, it's just like so. It just changes their.
Well,
lives.
You said something about. We're sending the money directly to these people that are doing the helping.
Exactly.
Right? The problem with Puerto Rico was that billions of dollars went to politicians in Puerto Rico.
Just disappears.
And then somehow it just doesn't get taken to the right place. Of course, there's somebody who got rich.
Same as what happened when with the Haiti thing with the Clinton Foundation. Remember,
that's exactly right.
There was all this Photoshop, all these photo ops down there where they're going to do all this building and things like that, and none of that stuff got done.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure the Clintons probably didn't even know about it. they send the money down there, whatever portion of it they actually sent.
Right. Well, they knew they were getting rich from the donations they probably got to send down there, because
hard to explain.
Like
hard to explain.
all these foundations. I mean, we know that a lot of these rich people use these foundations to pay for all of their life, but it's always everything they're doing is for the foundation. They go have lunch, it's for the foundation. They have a big dinner party, it's for the foundation. And then they get to eat, 5-star restaurants and spend $1,500, $2,000 a plate, buying high-end food and drinks and have a great time. And somehow when tax time comes, they don't have that much money to tax because they haven't made that much money. The foundation made the money, you see?
It's exactly that what Bill Whittle was saying when I was talking with him.
That's
about
right.
That. He was talking about Matt Damon, using as an example, but not to pick on Matt Damon because I'm sure he's a nice guy, but every, all these stars that browbeat everybody else about how we should be raising taxes, great, fine, raise taxes on Matt Damon, but where's that all that goes into the Matt Damon company, his production company, which gives him a relatively small salary,
but covers all the other costs of his life too.
So he's staying out of that 1% tax bracket, or 1/10 of 1% tax bracket, where he should really be, because he's got this. It's a.
He got paid $10 million for a movie, but somehow he didn't make $10 million that year. Right.
No, it got paid to his corporation or whatever. No, I'm not positive that Matt Damon is himself responsible for that, but we know how money is, how the rich take care of their money.
Just me, or maybe not, wrote, "Thanks for what you all say and do." Well, we appreciate you guys sharing the videos and helping us out with all the comments and all the good stuff. So thank you. Let's turn our.
I noticed that not to seem like a guitar obsessive, but I noticed that there's a bass guitar hanging on the wall behind you.
There is.
You getting down with your bad self over there?
Well, it used to be hanging in the.
I'm trying to point to it in the other frame.
It used to be hanging. Well, I don't see that frame on my end, so.
Oh.
No, I'm above you. I got it set up differently, but. That's a bass. You'll never find it. There you go. You're getting close. Okay, so, that bass was hanging where now is going to be the new baby's room. So I had to take it off the wall. The wife finally went through about 45,000 colors, and she's decided on the two we're going to use in the baby's room.
In the baby's room, it's not what used to be your office?
That's it.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
Well, you're smart. You got ahead of you've been moving out to the garage.
Yeah.
I remember coming home when we had our first kids, and I came home one night and I was getting ready to put something on the stereo, because I would always come home, I'd make myself a rum and Coke, and then I would plump down on the couch and listen to some music when I got home from work, right?
Yeah.
And I went over there to the stereo, I was going to throw in some Steely Dan or whatever, and the stereo was gone. And I said, "What the hell?" And my wife said, "Oh, well, I thought it'd be more convenient for you if I just put it out in the garage." And that stereo never came back into the house.
No, it never will.
Yeah. She was my little dream killer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you made a family. That's the priorities change big time.
Yeah. Now my kids are.
I'm gonna change direction here a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about some of these emails that Dr. Fauci it's been released with the Freedom of Information Act. I guess BuzzFeed was the one that got like 3,200 pages of emails, and there's some interesting things coming out about initially when this all went down. Dr. Fauci and his people that he talks to and works with, they were passing emails around that said they were worried that they might have a connection to this virus, and because of the money they sent to the Wuhan laboratory in China,
the gain of function research that was going on over there.
That's right, and it's pretty interesting because it's something that you would never be worried about if you've never said it was okay, because that's what he told Dr. Rand Paul. I've never was okay with gain of function research. I never wanted that to happen. That's not what we do. We don't. He was so adamant about it, and then.
And he said that one time. He goes, "We never funded him at all, and if we did, it was it."
And if we did, it's not for gain of function.
The guy's so used to lying that he doesn't realize he just said. But sometimes I lie. So he says, "We never funded him gain of function research, and if we did," he said it right, just like that.
Right.
It was over in the United States,
right,
in Baltimore, or wherever it was that he said, North Carolina or whatever,
right. But you would never.
It's bureaucrats. They don't even hear themselves lying. They do it so frequently.
You would never find an email being worried about a connection to this if he never ever did it. You know what I mean? Like if someone was like, "Oh, Jason, last year, you remember that all those cars that got broken into in your neighborhood." We got into your emails. We found one that says you were worried that people think that maybe you're connected to the break-ins. It's like, no, you don't have an email of me saying I'm worried about it, because I was never connected to anything, right? And that's the thing. He's definitely worried about it because there is some connection.
And to be fair, I can understand how, if you are a highly ranked public health official and you're dealing with the, what do they call it, the WHO, the WHO, the World Health Organization, and they're funding research, and maybe you're funding research, you're involved with the CDC, they're funding research. There's all these fundings going on back and forth. And I can understand why a guy would possibly be paranoid that somewhere along the line there's going to be a connection made that I might not even be aware of, that I'm going to look like I'm aware of because I was dealing with this or that doctor. But I think the person that everybody should be listening to right now is Brett Weinstein, the Dark Horse podcast. I hate like hell to give him a commercial because I'm jealous of his skill as a podcaster.
Yeah.
How fast he's risen to where he is. But he and his wife are evolutionary biologists. They understand how cells morph and change and how the process of evolution works, which is through random mutations, most of which don't give any gain of function. But now and again one does. So they're talking about it, and they've been talking about it from the very beginning and saying that, look, the idea that you have a research laboratory very close to a wet market, and then all of a sudden a brand new thing comes up and it jumps species immediately. And not only does it jump species able to then jump from members of that species and become a pandemic. Because these are two big different things. To be able to jump into humans and then also be really well adapted to contagion.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they said, well, you're saying that it's more likely that somebody put a pangolin on the bottom of a bat cage and it dropped down from a pangolin, from a bat into a pangolin and then went into a human? That's more likely than that it just accidentally came from a research lab when you have a research lab right there in town?
Right.
It's like, what? Why
Right.
why would this crazy hypothesis be immediately adopted as the way more likely one? Well, they never proved that one either.
Right. That's the thing, is they've never proven anything.
No,
and if China didn't have anything to hide, they would be out to prove that as fast as they could have.
This has covering my ass written all over it. Somebody, whether it was Fauci or some higher up, somebody is covering their butts.
Yeah. So check this out. I'm going to put up on the screen. I'll read something to you, Dave. Now, let me pull this up here. So this was in the New York Post, and this was because of the emails obtained. And this is from Fauci. He writes, Hugh, it is essential that we speak this morning, Fauci wrote. Keep your cell phone on. Read this paper as well as the email that I will forward you now. You will have tasks today that must be done. The NIAID director attached a PDF of a 2015 paper published in the journal Nature Medicine titled, A SARS-like cluster of circulating bat coronaviruses shows potential for human emergence. One of the paper's authors, Dr. Xing Zhengli, a Wuhan Institute of Virology researcher, known as the Batwoman for her work on bat coronaviruses. Fauci also sent the paper to National Institutes of Health.
Also for her skin-tight pants.
Yeah, her outfit, right? So here's a quote. The paper you sent me says the experiments were performed before the gain of function pause in October 2014, but have since been reviewed and approved by NIH. Now, that's
National Institutes of Health.
And that sounds bad. And then he later on says, we need a woman named Emily. Not sure what that means, since Emily is sure that no coronavirus work has gone through the P3 framework. She will try to determine if we have any distant ties to this work abroad. The other side of that is if they're worried about having connections to this work abroad, then that means they're also worried about it coming from the lab. They're worried that the story that China's telling us is not true, when he's out in front of us every day since the beginning saying, there's nothing that suggests that this could be coming from the lab. China, we trust the China scientists and so on. Yeah, you can't trust China scientists, because if China scientists tell the truth that goes against what the Chinese government wants them to say, they disappear.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, it's just amazing to me that they keep going back and forth with the degree of credibility handed to China. So they always, when every left-winger understands that China has been lying all along about the Uyghurs and about the whole thing with Nepal and Kathmandu and all Tibet. I guess Tibet is what I'm looking at. Everybody knows that their human rights record is horrible. Jason always looks away when I'm talking, and it makes me get distracted. I think.
Sorry about that. I'm reading the comments coming in and all the stuff. I'm
sorry. I'll get used to it.
I got things going on over here.
I know you need to do that, so I'll get used to it. I'm just commenting. But why do we suddenly then give them absolute credence over very specific issues that come in line with the narrative on occasion?
That's right.
Other than that, they're completely lying, oligarchs. I mean, it's really. I think that the people on the left, and I'm researching China right now because I'm going to do a series on it. I've got a couple of books in the mail that I have to read about it. But one of the things that I think is really sensitive is the left they've always kind of hoped that they could prove that a completely government-run system could work with free market economics. And China has proven that it can.
That's right.
So China hasn't gone broke like Russia did. China has become an international power utilizing the power of the free market. And so they're controlling it in a whole different way than they were with just the way that the Russians did, where they had a central decider of, okay, we will make this many tractor engines, we will make this many airplane propellers. So you had bureaucrats right there in the Kremlin trying to control the flow. But Chinese have decentralized that, allowed people to work, and then they've just gone full oligarch.
That's
so we
right.
got real captains of industry really working the free market and responding to the free market, yet they're still controlled by a communist government. And the people at the bottom are still like serfs.
That's right.
And this falls right into the narrative that a lot of left-wingers grew up thinking could happen, except that, the layer of serfs at the bottom, that somehow it could all work.
Right.
The good parts of capitalism could work with socialism.
Right.
And so I think a lot of them, they're just I don't want to criticize China. I want to see what happens.
Yeah.
I want to see if it works out in the end. Their inner commie wants China to succeed, and their inner humanitarian, their inner Amnesty Internationalin wants China to fail. So this is one of the things I'm going to be writing about this internal conflict among left-wingers about China.
Yeah.
And how brilliant it was for Trump to focus on that so strongly, and how important it was. It was not just that it was brilliant as a political tactic. China really is the problem on so many levels.
That's right.
But it may be the one thing. I'm not going to give the whole thing away.
Yeah, don't give your whole video away, then no one will tune in for that.
It's gonna be like 8 videos, so I want to make sure I tease it out properly.
That's funny. No, now check this out. To go with the Fauci emails, Vanity Fair, they got an internal memo that was here. I'm going to bring it. Let me bring it up on the screen here. I know you can't see it. I'll have to read it to you, Dave.
I know.
It says in one State Department
over here.
In one State Department meeting, officials seeking to demand transparency from the Chinese government say they were explicitly told by colleagues not to explore the Wuhan Institute of Virology's gain-of-function research because it would bring unwelcome attention to U.S. government funding of it. An internal memo obtained by Vanity Fair, Thomas Donano, former acting assistant secretary of the State Department's Bureau of Arms Control, Verification and Compliance, wrote that staff from two bureaus, his own and the Bureau of International Security and Nonproliferation, warned leaders within his bureau not to pursue an investigation into the origin of COVID-19 because it would, quote, open a can of worms.
Yes.
I mean, it's like everything
we got some smoking guns here, don't we?
It's everything it's pointing toward a lab leak. And then that makes you ask the question, was it a leak?
Well,
if we think it came from the lab, I mean,
then it could be that China was a step ahead of it far enough to know, because that they had deaths and then suddenly they had no deaths.
That's right.
Maybe they already had a vaccine. Maybe they already had some way to control it. Then they went ahead and leaked it, let some number of their people die while getting some other number of their people infected and on airplanes. They could have had people all over the airports just breathing on people as they got on planes, knowing that they were send it worldwide.
Well, did they know that it was something that affected older people so much? And let's be honest, old people in China are not important to the Chinese government. They're of no use. So in their mind, maybe it's like, you know what, we can let it run a little bit here and wipe out a few of these old people. We don't care about that. And then watch.
Well, they're not useful to them in other countries either. Right.
But China, when they're not useful to China, they'll get rid of you. They don't care. No. So this whole thing with the Fauci emails and this memo and everybody saying basically, no, don't look over here. Don't look over here. That makes you think, what are we going to see if we look over there? So something's the lab leak seems like it's probably what happened.
Well, we came out pretty early against Fauci. The first time I came out against Fauci was when I was promoting mask wearing.
Masks.
It was way ahead of Fauci, and I was saying, look, Fauci is saying don't wear masks. And then I was, but then we were looking at the stats from all the countries that were wearing masks, and they were, like Singapore, Japan, all the heavily masked countries, Hong Kong, and they just didn't really get it. Their thing went up like this and then just immediately went down. So
yeah.
I think obviously masks do work. I mean, I wore a mask to keep dust out of my mouth while I was painting. So they work on some level.
Well,
Fauci was saying they don't work, while also saying make sure that if you do find any masks, don't wear them, but do give them to your local hospitals. Like, why would you give them to your local hospitals? And then he was saying, oh, it only works. It stops you if you have it from giving it to someone else. Hey, wait a minute. The problem in hospitals isn't that doctors wear, that we're going to have nurses wearing masks because they've all got COVID, and we're trying not to give it to the COVID patients who already came in for COVID and they're in the COVID ward. Obviously, it's to protect the nurses and doctors if they're wearing these masks. And he's sitting there on 60 Minutes telling us that they don't work. He was just very clearly lying to manipulate us. And either he was lying for the purpose of getting more spread, which I would like to not accuse him of, or he was simply lying so that people would not buy masks off the shelves everywhere and would in fact give them to their local first responders.
Well,
and which would be a lie still, but it would be at least a lie for the good of the people ultimately.
well, there was another email.
But it's still a lie.
There was another email about masks early on, and a hospitalist, a doctor that runs a hospital, emailed him and asked him about masks. Should that be a priority? And he said, "No, that's not a priority. I think you should spend your money elsewhere, and that the virus is really tiny. It's not going to get stopped by a mask. Sure, maybe like a cough or a phlegm would get stopped, but not the virus in general." And that's what he said. So I wonder if it changed for some other reason than him thinking. Maybe he really did think it was a minor thing, but maybe it looked like we were doing something if we made everybody wear masks. It looked like we were trying to stop this thing, because a doctor friend of my wife's, when we talked about masks early on, and she said, a lot of doctors, they don't recommend that regular folks wear masks because you're not going to keep it clean. You're going to touch it. You're going to be putting your hands to your mouth and fixing it a whole bunch of times, which I do at work all the time. Right. And all this stuff. And I eventually got it. Did I get it at work? I don't know. But, and that was her take, was like, oh, I thought that was the take of that. If you know how to use a mask, if you wear them regularly, then yes, you're wearing gloves, you're not touching your face, you're used to that, you're not scratching your nose. But if you're not, you're just a regular Joe, and you put a mask on for the first time, you're like, man, this thing itches, Jesus. And then boom, you got it.
My context in that video, the full context was that I was saying that if that's what it takes to get people to not shut down businesses.
Right.
I said, let's not shut down businesses. Let's just wear masks.
Right.
And stay 6 feet apart, whatever it is. Back then, it was only 3 feet apart.
Oh, that's right. They started at 3 feet.
So let's stay 3 feet apart and wear a damn mask. And then we can let people open their damn businesses, keep their businesses open, and not shut down all these businesses. If we had gone in that direction, and we might not have had to add another $3 trillion to the debt that our children will bear.
That's right. JC Bridge,
so
come in.
make sure that little kid of yours gets good sleep in that new nursery.
I will.
So they have to work hard.
JC Bridge, she wrote, "Friends, good evening from Holland. Things are getting very worse here." English is her second language, maybe her third language. "Left over now, ISIS women and men who left Syria for ISIS is getting paid to come back to Holland, I'm presuming. The farmers here are having a brutal time with the climate activists." Yeah, she's speaking about something that's happening all over the world. Let's say that climate activists it's funny. Climate activists are so against one thing and they're so for another thing, but they don't like nuclear power, for example, when it's super clean energy, and then therefore a lithium battery where you got kids in the Congo are forced to mine cobalt every day so that we can have all these rechargeable batteries, and that's okay with them, but not these farmers that need to provide food for the country.
I drifted a little bit. What was her main point? Just sum it up again.
Yeah, basically she's just saying things are getting bad in Holland. Climate activists are killing the farmers, and ISIS women that left to go to be with ISIS men are now being welcomed back to their country.
Wow.
Sounds like a good time.
Yeah.
No.
It's so strange that Western Europe has this very odd inability to make any sort of moral stand.
That's right.
And I don't know why that is. Dennis Prager has the theory that they are so traumatized still from 2 world wars having been fought there that they just say, we're not going to fight anymore. We're not going to fight anymore. We're going to just get that out of our culture, as opposed to, we're not going to fight stupid wars or unwinnable wars, or we're going to make sure that we only fight evil.
Right. That they're not evil.
Point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're struck by war, don't fight needlessly, and don't fight anything but evil.
Yeah.
But make sure that you do fight evil long before it becomes a damn war.
When I lived in Germany,
they just don't want to fight anything.
When I lived in Germany, so I moved there in 2000,
Mm-hmm.
One of my friends I made there, he says, "Oh, it's tough being a German." And I was like, "Why?" He's like, "Because everybody says Adolf Hitler, Nazis, blah, blah, blah." And it's like, "Oh, sure, that's an ugly history right there, I tell you." And what has happened in Germany, though, is instead of trying to wipe out, ethnically cleanse everybody in their country, they've done a reverse 180 and the exact opposite, and they just let anybody in their country for almost any reason.
Right. It's they so want to not be Nazis that they just become completely non-functional.
That's right.
As leaders.
When I was there, they took me in front of a lady to get a visa passport, a work visa, and the lady starts off in German, and I'm like, "Well, my German's not very good." And she's like, "Okay, I was just checking," and then she says, "Are you going to the university?" I said, "No," and she's like, "Are you working full time?" I said, "No," and she's like, "Well, I can give you a work visa for 2 years, but if any of those things change, I'll extend it to 5 years." So I didn't qualify to get a work visa, right?
And so she still gave you
And
one.
she still gave me one for 2 years. Now, compare that to a year later, I go to Sweden. And now Sweden's changed, but then 2001, I'm in Sweden and I try to get a work visa. And they say, "Can you do a job that no other Swedes can do?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I can. I'm coaching and teaching baseball." And she's like, "Baseball doesn't count." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then I'm like, "No, I guess no." And she says, "Are you marrying somebody? Are you married? Are you engaged to a Swede to be married?" I said, "No." And she said,
But give me a few hours.
"Yeah, I know." She said, "Sorry, I can't
Just
help."
Let me run over to that cocktail bar over
I
there.
know, right? No, but she's like, "Sorry, I can't help you." And that was the difference. And so I used to, one way I got paid in Sweden and most of the places when I played baseball was I would get things. So I would get.
So you weren't allowed to work there.
I wasn't allowed to work in Sweden at all, but
So
I got
you were
paid
allowed to do the work. You just weren't allowed to take any money for it.
I got paid under the table, of course.
Yeah.
But in some of the ways they paid me is they gave me a place to live for free, at my own apartment. They gave me a bike, a bus pass, spending cash, a place to eat, and so on. So I had this restaurant, go to this Greek guy. He was at the restaurant. He didn't speak great English, but he spoke several other languages. And so we'd kind of communicate like with a mix of words, and his thing when he would say, "Germany, it's a catastrophe. It's a catastrophe." And I'll give an example. When I first went to Germany, I lived in like a student house, and there were people from different ethnicities, Turkish, Middle Eastern, and some Germans. Me and a couple of the Germans went out one night and we're walking, and there's walking this way, but beside us, coming toward us, is like a group of 3 guys, and there's 4 of us. And the guy there, the biggest guy on the end, comes walk close by our guy and just slaps him in the face. And we're like, "What?" And the Germans are instantly like, No. We don't want any problems. Everything okay. And I'm just, we're 4, they're 3. Are you kidding me? I'm young and dumb. Let's do this, And they're like, "No, Jason, we don't do it." We walked away. And he said, how it works here in Europe, or how it works here in Germany, is if you fight somebody like that, a Turkish guy or a Middle Eastern guy, they all whistle, and 30 or 40 of their friends come over and beat the crap out of everybody. And so I was like,
and this is in the country that took them in.
That's right. And so then I'm thinking, yeah, maybe he's just kind of embellishing this story. So I meet up with some of the baseball players the next day, and I tell them this story, and they're like, "That's exactly how it works here." And from that point on, I could pay attention. There was always something going down. And even one of the guys told me on the baseball team, he said, one of the best days at school I ever had was when a Turkish guy started to fight with one of the Germans, one of my friends, and then he whistled for his buddies, and they were gone already from school, and he didn't know it. And we all just stood there and cheered as my friend beat the crap out of this kid. And I said, "That's sad. I mean, that's sad. That's where we're at." I mean, that sounds racist kind of, but it's not, because of what's going on there. And it's because of this multiculturalism dream, and this, they don't want to be Nazis anymore.
Right. I had something I was going to say, but it'll come back around. But we had a version of that when we were kids, where I grew up, there was a whole bunch of Mexican kids, and I was not allowed to. I would go, and they were very, very frequently preying on the white kids because they were the sons of immigrants who had come over, and their fathers mowed lawns for a living or something like that. So
Sure.
one thing that happens in California that you'll see is the sons of very good, hardworking, humble people who come in and do all the shit work, who speak very little English. They're doing the best they can, but their kids get angry because they're in this country. It matters how much money you have, and their parents feel amazingly wealthy to have come from TJ or some way down deep in Mexico and be able to drive a 20-year-old pickup truck and mow lawns. They think that they're kings, but their sons think that their parents are servants. So they've got something to prove. And so they prey on white kids because they assume all the white kids have all the money, and they're just angry. And so we were always getting our asses, what we called back then, being jumped. We were always being jumped, and there was always 4 or 5 of these guys. And they'd slap you around, they'd take whatever money you had in your pocket, and they'd throw you in the bushes. Maybe they'd take your shirt from you or some way to humiliate you.
Yeah.
Whatever. And so this was like I had to, like, when I was a little kid, go down to the local swimming pool. I had to run a gauntlet. And I'd come home and I'd say to my mom, I'd be all messed up, and I'd come home. Well, why aren't you swimming? Well, some Mexican kids took my money. No, some kids took your money. So you could say bad kids. You could say tough kids. You just can't say Mexican kids.
Yeah.
Because it was already at that time in the 60s, the late 60s, already it was so politically correct in California that everyone was going way out of their way to not seem racist.
Yeah.
And there you can't then put your hand on a problem if you're not allowed to identify the problem. And you're pretending that there are no such thing as cultural trends.
That's right.
Because kids that grow up in the same neighborhood, they develop trends like all those Turkish guys had a trend. They knew that when the whistle happens, if somebody's going to provoke it, and the whistle happens, and they can go over there and kick some ass, and they won't go to jail.
That's right.
But the Germans guys would.
Or no one goes to jail, right? If the cops show up, they just disperse everyone, and then that's it.
But the German guys would, if they were preying on Turkish
Absolutely.
guys, they would go to jail.
If it was a group of 25 Germans beating up a couple Turkish guys, they would all be in prison.
But the cops themselves have been told, now, let's not be, kids, boys will be boys, and if they're Turkish boys, we'll just, we don't want to create a situation where we're seen to be Nazis.
Yeah.
So you can't, this week Joe Biden did that thing where we had this celebration, not celebration, a memorialization of that thing in Greenberg or whatever.
Tulsa.
Tulsa, it's that neighborhood of Tulsa that was known as the Black Wall Street.
Right.
And this thing happened 100 years ago, right? So Biden has to go over there and do a bunch of virtue signaling. But this is the psychological problem of assuming that today's people are the same as yesterday's people going back several generations.
That's right.
I don't look at any German person and assume them to be Nazis.
That's correct.
I don't look any more than I look at any Southern person and assume them to be racists. But Joe Biden is going with this idea that they want these groups to be not only cohesive in today's time, they want them to be historically cohesive so that white people can still be the oppressor and the black people can still be the oppressed. So you know what I mean? So this is a problem with assuming that people don't shift and change over time. This is just one of the many problems with identity politics, is it's not true. But they need it. They need these, for these groups to stay the same through generations in order for the narrative to not be disturbed. And it's maddening.
Well, he said there's a through line straight to today. Remember Charlottesville. And it's like, okay, so you're telling me there's 400 people left that think this way in America? Great. I think that's a win. Let's look at it. Let's look at it from that perspective. You're telling me there's a few hundred people that would be willing to do that, but no one's burning down these places right now.
didn't he say that the greatest existential threat we have is white supremacy?
That's what he said.
What? What? You know, he could very well have met with Greta Thunberg the day before, and he would have said the greatest existential threat we have is climate change. You know, I think that you and I should start a series where it's just the lie of the week. I don't know, you know,
That kind of sounds. That'd be
just have something and just explain why this lie is so damaging.
Yeah.
You know, because everybody knows Trump played fast and loose with the truth, but he lied about stuff like, yeah, we had more people at our rally than ever before at any rally since the dawn of time. Well, everyone knows that's bullshit, but it doesn't have any consequence. Trump never lied to hurt people.
That's right.
He never lied to enable an oppressive narrative or enable a whole people to feel discouraged. And these lies that the Democrats tell are harmful lies.
The lie of the week would always end up being some racial lie. It'd be the racist lie of the week. It would have to be, because it's just nonstop coming out of their mouths. Let me acknowledge some people here. Nathan Cinder, thank you for your super chat and super something like a donation. I don't know. Thank you for that. Daniel,
and for his super groovy personality.
There, you know it. Daniel Corica, he wrote, Dr. Triple F, Flip Flop Fauci, needs to be in jail. He has lied every step of the way. Love you guys. Here's some money to keep you going. We appreciate it. He's the guy that always comes clever with the 1776 donation super chat, because he cares about America that much, and we appreciate that. You know, I was looking, you know, we get some donations from time to time, and I saw one, and it was 1776 as well. I was like, I like what this guy's doing. That's good stuff.
Something popped into my head. I'm just going to dump it on you, and then we'll move on.
Sure.
But you know, I've been calling the COVID fans, the people who don't ever want to let go of COVID being the biggest thing in the world. I've been calling them the branch COVIDians. But now I think we should call people who refuse to question the COVID narrative. We could go, oh, I didn't know you were a Faucist.
A Faucist. That's pretty good.
Oh, I get it. You're a Faucist. Okay, I understand.
Right. That's pretty good, because that's
not bad, huh?
That really is. They're taking him at his word, even if his word is not the same word he said last month. It's now the new word. It's like a cult being run by a guy who never ever thought about starting a cult, but now all of a sudden he's got one, and then he just starts changing the rules as he goes all the time and saying different things, and people are like, oh, okay, that's what we do now. I got it.
You know, they over on the left, and God bless them, you know, I'm trying to be nice to my left-wing friends, so they don't listen to this, but now and again they'll tell me that they listen to the channel, and I think, oh, they're beginning to come. They're beginning to come to us, so I don't want to offend them and send them back out into left-wing land. So I don't want to, you know, just lay it on everybody, but when you become accustomed to believing things that contradict one another, you become accustomed to it, that becomes your mode of thought. You think that the world is filled with paradoxes and contradictions. People say that to me sometimes. They go, oh, the world is full of contradictions. No, it's really not. Or they'll say, oh, that's just one of the many paradoxes of life. And I go, no. There is no such thing as a paradox. A paradox is just the seeming of contradicting things. If you're looking at it and going, that's paradoxical. No. One of those things is right and the other one is wrong. Mm-hmm. Your paradox is just a weasel word to allow you to not figure out which one is right.
Yeah, that's good.
You know, there's no paradoxes, for Christ's sake.
11 Bravo Crunchy wrote, Dave, great combo with Bill Whittle. Really enjoyed it. Could you reach out to Steven Crowder next? Smiley face.
I'm not a big Crowder fan.
Yeah.
But I'm a big Crunchy fan, so, you know. I'm not a big Crowder guy. I think Crowder is about 75% showbiz. And but also he's way too big.
Yeah, he's probably too big right now anyway.
Yeah.
For us to reach out to. Mad World gave us a little donation. We appreciate that, Mad World. Just acknowledging that. Yeah.
I don't mean to put down Steven Crowder. There's a historic podcast with Crowder and what's that guy the most famous Joe Rogan. Sorry.
Never heard of him. Who's that? Who's that?
Remember Joe Rogan's name for a minute there. But he just takes Crowder to task through the whole damn podcast, and Crowder handled him really well, and Crowder showed how really smart and intelligent that he is. But I think there's an awful lot of people who are really manipulating the world and the information in the world in order to work for their channel and to work. And when Crowder did that thing where he refused to take, it said there was some gay thing on the wall, and all he had to do was take that down, and he got suspended from YouTube because it was showing, and they thought it was offensive in the camera shot. And all he had to do was take it down, and he would have been back up the next day. But instead, he pretended like he'd been barred from YouTube. And it was this whole big thing. He hadn't really been barred from YouTube, and then he got everybody to sign up to his Patreon thing, and so he increased his money. This is why some people are called grifters, because they're always working an angle. And this one thing I'm proud of, Jason and I, that we have never, tried to social climb through the ranks and things like that, and try to get connected and all this.
But there's definitely some YouTube issues going on. We felt that with a few things that we've done, for sure.
Without a doubt. And he knew that everybody knew that. So he was acting as if it was different than it really was.
Yeah. Well, sometimes
he wasn't being persecuted to the degree he said he was.
Yeah. I wonder if playing it up gets you a bigger audience, and then you can educate that audience better, let's say, would playing up something like that be a good thing in a way, For
me, if I know something's not 100% true, I just don't say it.
That's something we've tried to do, and we've even taken down some of our own videos after we second-guessed what we said.
Embarrassed I get when I make a mistake. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm telling you, just that we definitely have pulled down our own videos. We put something up and we go, oh, that mistake we said there was too big. I mean, we've had little things, like I remember once I called a congressman a senator or something like that, and that's not the kind of mistakes we're talking about. Those are clerical, if you will. But when you go look at this evidence, and then you go, wait a second, now that I saw something else that says that's not the evidence that I thought it was. We've pulled things out. We got another guy here, says, Ian Michaels said, Dave, when I first heard you do, and when the war was over, I looked for the original online as you were covering it. Great song, well done.
Yeah. He thought that somebody else had written that.
I that's just what he said. I guess I guess. And when the war was over,
you won't find it because mine is the original.
There you go.
So yeah.
Well, somebody really enjoyed that song. Is that over on your regular? Is that over on your regular channel?
It's on my other channel, Dave Morrison.
Is it a live version?
It's just me sitting on the couch singing it.
Yeah.
And, in the first week that I wrote it, I do it a little bit better now.
Well, let's talk about you for a little bit. I heard that another album's coming out, or in the works. What's going on?
Yes, I've sent the final 4 songs to all the rest of the team, and the team consists of a drummer and bass player, both world-class players, and Greg Kruger, who is the guy that I've worked with, has been my sideman and is also a really, really good engineer and recording guy.
And a great guitarist too.
Yeah, he's great. And Jeb Lipson, who runs Screaming Tree Studios, he's in the loop. And some of you guys may know Zane Bardwick. The great Zane Bardwick is executive producing the album. He's making a lot of the decisions, and he's working directly with me on the arrangements and things like that.
And you're gonna let me master it?
Hell no.
I saw this.
You know what? I'd have you involved, but you're too busy now.
I'm too busy. I saw
I
this
wish we could.
this Facebook thing the other day, and it had a picture, like 3 pictures, and it was a meme, and it had like a kid illegally downloads a DAW system to record music, and it's like 2 days later figures out how to record, and like next week he's offering his recording services online to people, and that's kind of how it is out here, man. There are so many people you can get caught up with recording or whatever, and then you realize they don't really know what they're doing. There's just so many people trying to do it.
That happened to me when I went to computer school when I was like 45, and I'd been painting houses a long time. I was pretty worn down already, and I went to computer school just so I'd be able to come up to speed a little bit. And I got really interested in it, and then I took another class about how to make websites using Front Page, the Microsoft software at the time.
Yeah.
And I got pretty good at it, and I learned how to make graphics and stuff like that. And I immediately offered my services as a web designer.
Immediately.
And I built a bunch of websites. I ended up building 14 websites and managing them, and but I was in so far over my head, but I didn't know I was in over my head.
That's right.
And this was the wild, wild west at the time. This was 2000. It was the year 2000. The year 2000.
I did a website for when I first got into music, and after I did my internship, I did a little website for my music stuff, and I was showing it to a lady that my wife worked for at a clinic, and they're like, "Oh, we need a new website. Could you do it?" And I was like, "Yeah,
sure,
probably." So I did it for this, like this world-renowned cardiac institute. I did their website and put it all together, and then it was up for like 4 years, and then they finally got somebody else to make it a lot better.
Because people didn't know who to find, as a web designer. And I was just looking at the pages I saw, and I bought a bunch of books from the library about page design. And so my stuff actually looked pretty good for the time.
Yeah.
Because back then you'd go on and it'd be like a gray background with blue letters, and there'd be all like these little spinning tops and flags going back and forth and stuff like that. And everything would be aligned to the center. And and I learned first thing is never align anything to the center. Think about it as a magazine page.
Yeah.
And okay. And so
I
actually did some good work.
Ian Wells says, "Why don't you ever debate leftists like Sam Setter? Too cowardly to ever have your ideas challenged in public?" ? That's
never heard of Sam Setter.
Don't know.
That would be one of the reasons why we haven't reached out to Sam.
But the other thing is, you might not know this, Ian, but Dave is a part of Braver Angels that we've talked about several times on here, and that whole thing is about being on the left and right and talking about your what you think and your beliefs and so on. So Dave's out there.
I had a Zoom meeting just this week with a pretty hard left guy and a guy I'm not too exactly sure where he sits, but talking about different things, and we were getting along fine. But I haven't had any great big debates with people. But if Ian would like to set it up with Sam Setter, first send me a link so I can find out who the hell he is. But
sure,
yeah, I'd be open to it.
Yeah,
because that's something I've been getting ready to do. One of the things about Braver Angels is that they teach you some skills to not to neither get triggered by the other side. So when somebody says something against something that's your hot button issue, that you don't freak out. And also not to do that to the person you're talking to. And one of the ways that is that you're getting ready to tell them something that you know is going to trigger them and make them feel a little hostile, is you signal that you're going to do that by there's a technique by kind of ramping up to it gradually and saying, like, I think in a minute I'd like to give an opinion on that. Are we ready to go there? Something like that, just so that they have a chance to go, oh, that was polite. And then you say, the way I see it is, or people on my side tend to think.
Yeah.
Now, you're not going to get in that much trouble. You know, traditionally, I'm a conservative, and traditionally conservatives would say something like this, and then you say what you're doing, and you're not going to just freak everybody out.
Yeah.
You know, and they're going to say the same thing. The truth is that I have had a couple of when my friend Craig Lincoln came on. And Craig and I just spent most of the time just, you know, he was criticizing his own side, and I was criticizing my own side, because once we're looking at each other face to face, he's just remembering, oh, man, I kind of miss Dave. I hadn't seen him in a while. And I'm thinking, hey, Craig's a good dude, you know? And I didn't want to start a fight. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I'm all about debate, and if anybody pays attention to me commenting to other comments, on my YouTube channel, on the YouTube channel, then you'll see that it's the comments that someone comes on and goes, "This is why you're wrong." I like to always comment on those people. So if anybody who's worth our while contacts us, we've never had anyone contact us about doing a debate or anything like that. But hey, hook it up, Ian. Like, let's do it. I'm down to debate about any issue, and I know Dave ain't afraid.
Well, I'm not afraid, but I probably would not be the most entertaining for those people who want to then go to a video that says Dave destroys Setter, or whoever that guy's name was. You know, because I don't think that's productive.
Yeah,
I don't think that's productive. You know, I've just gotten really, really tired of everybody destroying each other and everybody making, you know, 400,000 views off taking somebody else's thing, taking a little bit of Ben Shapiro, when actually Ben Shapiro was being quite polite to a leftist in the audience, because Ben was actually trying to change a mind.
That's right.
And then someone takes that perfectly reasonable thing and puts, "Watch Ben destroy a social justice warrior," you know, and that gets 400,000 views, and everyone's disappointed and go, "Oh, he didn't destroy her enough." You know,
right.
I mean, she's a child. People are supposed to be stupid when they're children.
Right.
You know, so our job is to make them somewhat less stupid later.
I'm definitely, I look forward to getting a chance to debate people. I learn
Who would you like to debate if you had a chance to, Jason?
Who would I like to debate? Well, who I'd like to interview would be Thomas Sowell. He'd be the guy I would love to, like, maybe not even interview like in this kind of setting, but like sit down in a private setting and just have a conversation with him and try to soak in everything he can put out.
That's a hard get.
Yeah, I'm not even going to try. Like, that guy's, he's tired and he ain't got time for someone like me, a YouTuber. Who would I like to debate?
How about what's that woman?
That's a tough one.
She's kind of hot looking. She's a left-wing chick. I'm sorry, I can't remember.
I don't know.
Obviously, we don't listen to too many left-wing people. Well,
we do. I check out things that people on the left are saying all the time, but I don't subscribe to their channel. I don't follow them. I get clips. I listen to their argument, and many of the pieces that we do, I research their argument so that I can know where their side's coming from, and so I can debate it in my piece, basically, right?
Right.
So no, debate's good. We need more debate and less bomb throwing, and I think that would do nothing but help us. And you're talking about a buddy of mine, and he's a friend, but he was telling another friend about our channel, and he was like, that friend asked me, "What's your channel about?" And I said, "It's politics, you know, conservative, libertarian-ish." And he's like, "Oh, okay." And his kind of look was kind of like, "Oh, okay." And it's like, so, okay, he's probably a Democrat, he's a liberal or whatever. My buddy said, "Oh, you'll like his channel because he lays out the things where you actually know what the other side he's talking about is coming from. So he lays it out and then tells you why he sees it differently." And I thought, wow, what a compliment. And this ain't the guy that thinks I'm some brilliant, you know, conservative talker, and he's not that conservative himself. I think he voted for Kanye West in the last election.
Yeah, that wasn't a big conservative vote. I had a similar situation where, some time ago, I had done that thing about decency, they got picked up for that podcast, and I went on that. And also, a lot of guys checked out the my friend Rick Taylor's page, saw some of his songs, listened to some of his songs, and subscribed. And so Rick just, out of the clear blue sky, he posted my video on his Facebook page because he wanted to acknowledge me for having done a nice thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he just said, "It's a great essay by Dave." And so I just happened, he pinned me, or he tagged me. So I went over there, and on the thread, I'm getting torn apart. All these people who in the past I've gotten into hassles with on Facebook and I haven't talked to in a long time because I blocked them long ago, or they blocked me long ago. They're all having a big, tear Dave apart fest over there. And telling him how, he talks about decency, but he's the worst guy ever, that kind of thing. And so I actually, one of them who I think I still am somewhat friends with, I privately messaged him and said, "I never attacked you. Why are you telling people in public that I ever attacked you? We argued, and we were both impolite to each other, but don't be telling lies about that." And Rick's trying to have a good thing. If you want to salvage what we have left as a friendship, go over there, take your comment down, and then we'll call it even. And then he writes back to me, he goes, "I've watched an awful lot of your videos and blah, 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 blah." And I go, "Well, if you're watching awful lot of my videos, why are you watching a lot of my videos?"
Yeah.
And then he told me which ones he agreed with. I think you made a point on that, but the rest of it, It's just like, why are you watching our videos? And so when people say that, and it happens to me a lot, that people say, "Yeah, you don't watch that guy. I've watched all his videos. He's terrible." Well, why?
Yeah.
If they're watching, they're on the way over. They're on the way out of there. If they're secretly watching what I'm saying, I want to make sure I'm communicating.
Well, they're starting to think, right? They're starting to think.
Right.
They've decided that they're no longer going to let the PC, culture controllers tell them what they can think about and talk about. They're now going like, well, let me think about this myself. Let me take a look at the evidence myself. Let me take a look at the other side myself. And what you end up finding is, Rush Limbaugh used to do that. He would tell liberals, "Hey, give me a week. Listen to my show for 1 week and tell me I'm all those things you heard about that I was." And, sometimes I'd call in and say, "Yeah, actually, I did that challenge. I listened to you for a week and I realized I don't agree with you all the time, or I don't agree with a lot of the stuff you say, but you're not the guy they keep telling us you are. You're not the Grand Poobah of the KKK or anything." But, that's if you let the left control what it is you think about somebody else, if it's somebody that they don't like, they're going to make sure you think he's the worst of the worst.
Right. Bill Whittle said something the other day. He said, he says, my job is, when I sit down, when I interact with a liberal, my job isn't to convince them of any one issue. My job is to convince them of my own humanity.
Oh, that's good.
Because that's the key thing. They've been told so many times that we're really bad people, that then they see good things that we do and assume it's some sort of subterfuge. Oh, they're just doing that nice thing in order to cover for the fact that they're really secretly a horrible person. And that's a pretty hard thing to argue against, because they see you doing good things and they go, "Wow, look at that. Look at him hiding behind yet another fundraiser for orphans."
Yeah.
It's like, what? You really think that I have that much, that I care about your opinion of me that much, that I would go to the trouble to behave the way I do in order that hopefully you spy me, because really secretly I'm going to Klan meetings? They really don't believe that, but it's the way that they keep the narrative from falling apart entirely.
Yeah.
I think you're so right about this. Ever since I've known you, you've been very focused on understanding the other side as a narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I've learned kind of from you, to focus on that. And now I understand that, wow, they're trying to preserve the story desperately.
Well, I think part of it, when someone is willing to believe that you would, set up a way to fund orphans in Africa and spend time doing, or cows for Christmas or whatever it is, just trying to make yourself look like a decent person. It tells you their mindset of what they do, right? It tells a lot more about them than it does you. It tells them that they're going like, I know people like that. I'm kind of a person that might, do the right thing when everybody's looking to say, hey, I'm a good guy. It shows that they're virtue signalers because they're accusing you of virtue signaling, right? And it shows that their mind works that way a lot of times, whether they're doing these same things or not. But it shows you that their mind is that deceptive or that devious, and I think it tells more about them than it does you.
Well, it certainly shows that they are insecure about, we're all insecure about our place in the tribe on some level or another at whatever you consider to be your tribe. Like I was having this conversation with these two guys, Eric Law, who is a left-wing guy, and John Carroll in Nashville, and we're just three guys talking about music and things like that, and also talking about what we can do to try to get to, like these are liberal guys reaching out to me for the purpose of trying to get me to find them more conservative musicians that they can then feature on the Braver Angels website and exposed to a greater number of people. They don't have enough conservatives, and they're working on this problem all the time to try to get more conservatives into Braver Angels. And one of the things that these two guys are focused on, along with me, is the musical end of things, believing that to be a communication thing. And so they needed to have a powwow with me personally, because they hope that I'm their conduit to far more conservative musicians. And so these are not guys who are trying to keep so I said, and then they're talking about the problems with the tribes, and we're talking about everyone tribing up, and I said I look at you guys, and I see you as part of the tribe that I'm in, and that's the tribe of Goodwill. We disagree on almost everything, but I see that we are members of the same tribe who have these disagreements.
Right.
Because I know that you're here on this Zoom call with me out of goodwill, and I'm meeting you on this Zoom call also out of goodwill. We agree, and once we see each other that way, now we're communicating, and then the issues don't seem quite that insurmountable.
Yeah.
Because you know that you're working with somebody who does have goodwill. And I'd rather see that as the tribe. Good people is my tribe, not good people who vote, not all people who vote with me, because there's some assholes who vote with me. And I've got to meet them, a lot of them lately. These nasty emails.
I thought your tribe was all white people.
Well, there's that.
I mean, that's what the identity politics.
Is this shirt too racist?
Yeah, I know, right? That's what they want to suggest, as if, like if I'm walking.
It's such a segregationist view, isn't it, Jason?
Yeah. If I walk into a store and there's another white guy walking by me, I've never ever felt like this is. I could be friends with that guy. He's probably a good guy. Like, there's nothing about him, his whiteness, that makes me think I have any connection to him whatsoever.
Right.
But they really think that, It's like that Eddie Murphy skit back in the day where he dresses up as a white guy on SNL, and he goes in to buy a newspaper, and he's like, there was no one else around, and the guy just gives him the newspaper and doesn't take his money, and he's like, right. I realize white people just give each other everything. And he was making such a great joke about how stupid the thought is that whites are just this big cohesive group of people that just love each other and whatever. No, that's not the case at all. I don't look at another white guy and just automatically relate to him in some kind of a way.
No, but you doing your job, working out your work truck, you've had this similar experience to this. I was in, I think it was Studio City about 4 or 5 years ago. It was a really hot day, middle of summer, right? And I pull into this 7-Eleven. I got my empty Big Gulp. I'm going to go ahead and get, that and have my hot dog for lunch. And I'm walking into the door, and there's this guy. Just then, this black guy pulls up in an HVAC truck, and he comes out, and he's in his work clothes. He's covered with sweat. And so he's got his big gulp too, and we meet over the big gulp thing, and we start talking about the weather and stuff like that. That guy was in my tribe for that moment.
That's right.
Because he's having a shared experience. He didn't want to be crawling around in hot attics, and I didn't want to be scraping fascia boards on a day like that. But
That's right.
There we were. We're in our work clothes. We're part of the service economy. We could talk about stuff literally all day, without ever mentioning anything that is specific to black culture or white culture, if there's such a thing.
Right.
So we go in there, and as we're doing that, a guy comes in, and he's like wearing a suit, and he's in line before us, Then it's the two of us back there, and I didn't say anything, but I'm thinking that guy is so not in my tribe, and he happened to be a white guy, but he could have easily been a black guy. And I would have thought, that guy's so not in my tribe. Not that I have anything against the guy, the black guy in a suit or the white guy in a suit. It's just I wouldn't have anything immediately to talk to him about.
Right. No.
You know what I mean?
Sports is the same way.
Right.
Right. Like I played 1 year of college basketball, and the team had more black guys on it than white guys, and I didn't get along. The people I got along with had nothing to do with whether they were black or white. It was whether we played sometimes the same position, or we had the same kind of sense of humor. We liked the same things, whatever it might be. And that's who we made friends with. In college, my best friend was a black guy. He was the shortstop. I played second base, so we were right there beside each other a lot, and we hung out a lot after practice. And I never thought I wanted to be his friend because he was black, or didn't want to be his friend because he was black. I thought, this guy is cool. And that was it. We were friends. We liked each other, right? And then we just hung out. And that's it. And
that's why sports and music and the military, places where there is really a strict meritocracy going on. Meritocracies are anti-racism.
That's right.
And the supposed anti-racists who call themselves anti-racists are actually anti-meritocracy.
That's right.
Meritocracy is where, and you have had that experience where it's a really rich experience. You should write about that more and mention it more as an example, because it's a really strong grounding that you have.
Yeah.
In living in a strict meritocracy, and you just can see how that erases such stupid barriers as a color line.
That's right. Earlier you said something that we were talking about, the setting up that a charity or whatever it might be, and virtue signaling, people thinking that way. I believe it was what is his name? The TP USA guy, Turning Point USA. Charlie Kirk. Someone's called him a racist, and he's like, would a racist have 5 years of having the African American summit in Washington D.C.? And there's like, yes, that's what a racist would do to try to say he's not racist. And it's like, what? It's like, no, that's your brain. You would do something like that. Why? No one would put the effort that I've put into this to do that. That just makes no sense whatsoever. And the same thing with hiring Candace Owens or whatever as the communications director. That was because of racism he did that. And these people, you could make the argument that he might have favored her over another white person because he was dealing with the idea that people are racist. He knew that there was some advantage to an extremely attractive and smart, well-spoken black woman, as opposed to a woman saying the exact same things but happens to be white. He would hire her because she's better able to carry that message, and he wouldn't need that message to be carried if it weren't for the constant accusations of racism. That's right. But even in retrospect, it has nothing to do with him being racist. In retrospect, you'd have to agree that he did a good job hiring her. And you would say, I don't know who would have done any better, because she's been a big mouthpiece for her, and she's gotten a lot of attention, and she has people on the left don't think she's a good person. They think she's a sellout. An Aunt Jemima. She's a sellout. I actually was that one of the guys on that thread on Facebook who was trashing Dave Morrison is a guy named Tom, and
I was the last thread I'd been on with this guy. He'd been calling Candace Owens an Aunt Jemima, and so I said, so wait a minute, you're assuming you're using the idea of Aunt Jemima as a pejorative to put down another black woman, and who's the racist here again? Let me just remind me, because I'm lost. Because that seems really racist to me.
Yeah.
For you to call a person who you don't agree with to use another colored person to make fun of her, you're putting her down specifically because of her color.
That's right.
Because she's not allowed to say those things. She's really not allowed to say those things because she's black. So a white person can say those things, but you wouldn't call them then, you know, a
sellout. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he just blocked me at that point. And
Yeah.
I had heard, you know, or whatever he did.
Ask him questions, man. If you want to argue with the left, ask them a lot of questions, and they'll
you're
lead
the king of that.
They'll lead you to the moment where you get to ask the question that puts them either, and you know what their answer is going to be, and it's going to be one of two things. It's either has to be like, oh wow, I never realized that, huh? That's interesting, or it's going to be a delete, or it's going to be block you. It's going to be one of those, because you've brought them to the point where they see the light and they can't face it. And
yeah, and that's, you know, I hope I don't become, you know, so set in my ways that I can't change my mind. Jonathan Haidt is fond of saying that it's ideologies. He usually uses the word morality because he considers the ideologies to be moralities. You know, because people hold them in that way. They look at somebody that doesn't hold them. It's a doctrine. It's a type of morality that we take on. But ideologies are not the problem. Orthodoxies are the problem. So it's when you get into when you get your ideology and it becomes orthodox, now it's set in stone. Now it can't be. Now it's like let's say with, you know, Jewish people or something like that. There are certain people that they got their orthodoxy tied to a sect of Judaism, like the guys with the pigtails that come down and they wear hats all the time and they always wear black, and
right.
Hasidic Jews.
Yeah.
Their orthodoxy is tied to a time in the mid-1800s or whatever, when all of those styles were adopted and all those rules were adopted, and then they got set in stone. And so now they can't get along with the more relaxed Reform Jews or the other regular conservative Jews, and it's the orthodoxy. And like Haidt says, you know, it binds and it blinds. So
that's good.
It holds the group together, because all these really heavily adhered to rules really sets you apart from the rest of society and makes you need each other that much more, because I can't marry outside this group. I'll never get find a girl that also wears magic underwear. You know what I mean? And so it holds you together, but it blinds you to a lot of other opportunities for thinking and other things that might actually solve some of the problems. So I don't want to get so orthodox that I can't hear when I'm not winning the argument. I don't want to just be able to win the argument. I want to also be flexible enough to sometimes back away from an argument if I figure out I'm wrong, like we do when we don't post those videos when we go.
When your ideology becomes your religion, right?
Yeah.
Then you can't think for yourself. You have to fall in line, and if you don't fall in line, then you know you're a sinner. You're someone, you know, you're Judas or whatever, and they're gonna let you know, right? If you're in that hard left, hard right, wherever it might be, and you fall out of that orthodoxy, you fall out of where you're supposed to be, someone's going to let you know. And that's why you talk about it many times, is a lot of people are afraid to think for themselves, because, you know, somebody asked me
what will happen if they reach the wrong conclusion, and then it'll threaten their place within their group.
That's right. They're no longer, they're going to be, you question why violence is happening in this community. Well, you can't question that. This is the reason. And if you don't go with it, then you must be a racist. You must be a bigot. You must be, and they're keeping
you're
people
liable to be thrown out of the cool kids group.
They're keeping people in line, and that's how they do it. And it's sad because, you know, when I grew up, there were still those signs that would say, "I refuse service to anyone for any reason," and stuff like that. You know, I go to the skating rink and had this big sign on there, and I never ever once saw Jerry, the guy who runs the skating rink, throw anybody out or not serve anyone. He was just saying, if you want to come here and start some trouble, I'm going to kick you out. Period.
I reserve the right to throw you out.
I can.
Exactly.
And I don't have to write it up in some kind of form. I don't have to call the cops. I just have to say, sorry, buddy, you're not allowed in here. And
well, yeah, and I remember getting in a big debate on social media when it was back in the time when we were dealing with a lot of the people that were refusing to bake cakes for people because they didn't want to be part of a gay wedding.
Mm-hmm.
They were fine with selling a cake to a gay couple. They just didn't want to be part of a sacrament of gay marriage because that was a bridge too far for them. And then those people were getting targeted, you know,
That's
and
right.
getting sued out of existence and things like that. And I remember I posted on Facebook for a while. It was just this, it was one of those signs that I found online. We reserve the right to refuse service to anyone. And I said, this used to be on the wall in literally every business.
That's right.
And now, what? And then I said, what if I decided that I didn't want to, somebody was getting their house painted for a gay wedding? And what if I just decided, hey, you know what? I just don't like this guy. I just don't, he's too picky, or he's just, you know, can't make up his mind, or he's kind of a dick. What if I just say, you know what? I'm just not going to take this job. Could they be, because he happens to be gay and they happen to be having a gay wedding, could they force me to go paint a house for a customer I don't want?
That's right.
And that gets you into a lot of, and a lot of people thought, well, yeah, you have to do that. So, well, I don't have to work for anybody ever if I don't want to.
Right. I mean, think about it. Let's say in the entertainment business with music, we're talking about recording music. If a guy comes in and he's like, oh, I do hardcore gangster rap, I use this kind of language or whatever. It's like, I mainly do country music, let's say. He's like,
not for me.
He's all like, no, I'm paying you the rate you want. I want you to be my producer. And it's like, no, I don't want to be a part of this. This is not what I want to do. But that's where we would head if the people were honest about what they're fighting for. But they're not. People on the left fighting for the cakes and all that stuff. That had nothing to do with making sure gays have a good life or whatever it might be. That was just all control and politics, man.
Yeah, and that's why, you know, we're in Pride Month again now, aren't we? And
we're in Pride Month. Somebody posted on Facebook. It said, "This Pride Month, I want to celebrate all the countries in the Middle East that support gay marriage. Israel." So, yeah, that's funny.
Oh man, I don't know. You know, it's activists, and I have some dear friends who consider themselves activists, but it's activists that are the problem. You know,
no doubt about it.
Just let society evolve as it evolves.
Right.
You know, and gay marriage is one of those things. I don't think anyone's dying on that hill anymore. You know, and it kind of just got to the place where everyone's going, I don't really care that much.
Right.
You know, and eventually that happens everywhere in the country, but you have to understand that there are different states that attract, I mean, like a whole bunch of gay people moved to San Francisco, and there they managed to, then they started thinking, wouldn't weddings be a great thing to have? You know, I think they were more interested in the party than the actually being married. But suddenly the thing about leftists is they go along and it mutates and grows gradually, and then it reaches critical mass where they realize that, okay, everybody on our team now agrees it's a thing. Okay, now we have to have the entire country the next day they have to, or else they're homophobic. They're racist. Let them do it at their own pace. You already moved to San Francisco away from Missouri because there weren't enough gay people there.
Right.
So obviously there's not that many gay people there. It's going to take them a little longer to get to the place where they think gay marriage is an important
I
thing.
thought you made such
Just
a great
do your
point.
thing.
You made such a great point in one of your videos. It was something like the gay communities, biggest gay communities in America are, I think it was San Francisco, West Hollywood, and Manhattan or something like that, and said, can I get some of that oppression? Because have you ever seen what it costs to live in West Hollywood or San Francisco?
Exactly. It's the most well-paid oppressed group that I've ever met.
Yeah, they're doing well. We got a Senor Nisuno. He said, appreciate the live streams, guys. You two rock. We appreciate you. And Anthony Velasquez says, thanks for all the content this year, BCL. For your information, you can shop at Trader Joe's mask-free, at least in Pasadena, California.
Hey,
that's not too far from you.
That's not too far from me. I'm going to go down there and see if I can hit on some chicks.
The next video,
you know, you're in trouble when you start flirting with chicks when you're wearing a mask and they're wearing a mask too.
You just like, I'm taking my chance. I'm taking my chances.
Taking my chances. I have no idea what's going on there. Neither does she.
That's funny. No, if Anthony might be setting you up, I don't. Maybe you're gonna go there without a mask, and you're gonna be on the news tonight. They're like, this guy won't wear a mask. No,
I trust Anthony.
No,
you should stop. Ranking on Anthony.
Yeah, I know.
He's not honest.
My bad, Anthony.
How dare you?
Well, we had the other guy that came on and said we're chickens. We won't debate anybody. No, I was just making a little joke there. Come on, Dave. Why you turn it so sinister? Make me look so bad.
I actually heard something about that, but I was surprised because it seems to me that the people who shop at Trader Joe's, they seem to be almost all left wingers.
Yeah, I would say
it just seems like it's like a Whole Foods, yoga studios,
but they're cheaper. So
yeah.
I think that's part of it. Why it might not be as much as we think it is that way.
Maybe they're showing everybody a little leadership.
I don't know if you heard about this.
Support them.
I don't know if you heard about this, but Cal OSHA has now, that's California's Occupational Safety and Hazard Association or whatever it's called. They've now made their rules that are going to take effect June 15th. So up to June 15th, at June 15th in California, we're going to finally get rid of the masks. And then Cal OSHA has come out and said, starting June 15th, if everyone in your business has been vaccinated, you do not have to wear a mask. But if one person in your business has not been vaccinated, then everybody has to continue to wear masks.
Wow.
So, I mean, yeah, Dave, you're vaccinated.
I'm vaccinated.
I got vaccinated the old school way.
Yeah, you got COVID. Which lately they've shown you do have immunity. They don't know how long the immunity will last, but you are immune.
There was some study that came out that suggests it could be a really long time, like 10 years or something.
But I can't go. I'm going to a concert tonight in Ojai, and I can't get in without proof of having been vaccinated. I would probably say I'm not so fond of that rule, and maybe not go, but I really want to see how they do their live stream, because I watched a show from there over live stream, and oh my God, they did such a good job with it. The sound was so good. I want to check out and see how they're pulling it off. So I'm going in there with my camera tonight. I'm gonna spy.
Yeah.
I know the guy. I know the guy. We have friends in common, so I think I can get to the inside line, because, man, it's one thing you got to say about COVID. It has changed us in an awful lot of ways. I mean, did we ever do this before COVID? I'd never even heard of Zoom.
That's right.
Before COVID. I didn't own this or, the little deal that I'm going through here or any of that.
I bought this camera because of COVID. That's shooting me right now.
And what are you using a Brio?
I'm using the Logitech.
Is it the Brio though?
No, it's
Do you have two little blue things like this on that one? I don't think you do.
no, I don't think so. I think it's written here somewhere.
And yours is kind of flat, isn't it? It's sort of. I think that's the Brio. I think that's
I got the C922 Pro Stream.
Oh, you got the Pro Stream one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry,
I would say that yours probably has a little bit better quality than mine, but some of that is that you probably have better lighting and you're more photogenic.
Yeah, I'm just better looking, Dave.
You're just better looking.
I don't think that's true.
I smear a little Vaseline on my lens so I don't look quite as old.
That's funny. You should smear it on your face. Maybe that'll help.
Give me another idea.
I don't know. Well,
so
I think
we're getting ready to wrap up here.
Yeah, we need to wrap up. I determined that the AC got kicked on because my daughter's napping right now. It gets hot up in her bedroom, so I don't know if that messed up the sound at all, made it sound a little bit hissy.
I didn't hear it a bit, and I got these in.
Yeah, so it should be fine. No one's. I was monitoring the comments. No one really said anything, but it always makes me nervous when a new sound comes on. I'm just like, oh, is everybody getting drove crazy right now with this in the background? But I guess not.
Well, anytime you want to let these good people get back to what they're doing, we thank you guys for tuning in.
Yeah, definitely. We'll do this again soon. We appreciate anybody who's donated, and go buy a shirt if you want to. If you want to go to Giving Fuel and become
because nobody works so hard with their merch as we do.
Yeah, I did. I worked pretty hard for about 2 weeks.
You did it all.
And now I haven't done anything else with it. But I would like to get a hat.
All I had was the basic idea of the truck with a light bulb in the back.
Yeah.
That was a good idea, but you made the
I made that happen
on Fiverr, right? You found a guy.
Fiverr, it's a guy from India, I think.
Or something.
Guy from India, I think, did it.
Yeah, we should get back in touch with that guy and see if we could. He's probably dead now from COVID.
Oh, that's a terrible joke. I'm sure he's not. He's probably 20 years old or 15 years old or something on Fiverr trying to make some extra bucks.
He had good chops, though. He
knew what he was doing. It looked good. He was reactive, too.
What I'd like to get, though, is stickers. I'd like to get some little round stickers that people could put on their laptops and things like that. I don't know where to put. That's the only place that I put stickers.
Well,
cases.
Somebody asked us if we make a decal, like a big magnet decal. He would put it on his truck.
That's going a little further than I want.
Well,
maybe if just send him.
If there's a place to make a decal that we didn't have to buy it and had them loaded up at the house here, waiting for people to buy them.
But even just a bumper sticker sized thing, that you could put in the rear window of your pickup truck.
That'd be cool.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, well,
some way for our guys to find each other when they're out there in the world.
Yeah, maybe we'll work on it, and maybe I'll work on it, and then.
But yeah. I did go to It does seem that Teespring now offers stickers.
Okay, well then that won't be hard to do. I'll look into that, and then we'll.
I don't imagine there's a great big markup on a sticker.
Well, there will be once I get done with it. Get your $40 sticker right here. No, we don't. Try
available only in packs of 300.
Yeah, you can buy one for $1,000, or you can buy 500 for $1,001.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, I'll look at some people mentioned the hats. I'm going to try to look to make some more things.
Oh, yeah. They do have hats now, too.
Yeah.
And so that's a little bit of a thing that we got to check out.
Yeah,
hats
definitely going to.
Because they offer two different kinds. They're trucker hat and dad hat. I don't know what a dad hat is.
I'm not sure either, but I know what a trucker hat is.
I think the dad hat maybe comes up a little higher or something like that to pretend you have a high forehead. Because dads care about shit like that.
I don't know. Not
and they're
sure.
Like in dusty mauve and sage green would be the colors on a dad hat. I don't know. Trucker hat would just be like blue.
Hey, let's end with this comment here from Don. He wrote, Good to see all my fellow heartless, racist, right-wing bigots today. Thanks for a great live stream again, folks.
Any other cross burnings going on tonight?
Any other? Yeah, I know, right? Where are the cross burnings tonight? I fell out of the loop a little bit. I was working so hard this week. I don't know where I'm supposed to go direct my racist hatred tonight.
We're working with this Unitarian church again to try to get a concert series going there again. And the old joke about that is, if you piss off a Unitarian, they'll come and burn a question mark on your lawn. Because they're not too sure about Jesus.
That's funny. Oh, extra cheese just came in. He wrote good times. His picture is a cheeseburger and his name is Extra Cheese. But he came in with a donation there. We appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Doug, G, Ronnie, Leslie, all you guys. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you guys soon. Okay.
Well, let me say one last closing thing.
Finish us off.
I think JC Bridge, you call her. I think that's a mispronunciation. I think that it should be something like Brigda or something like that. So JC, if you're still listening, tell us next time whether I got close at all. Brigda. That's my best guess.
Yeah. So is it Dutch or is it?
Yeah, but I think that
it's Iraqi changed to Dutch.
I think the G is before the D. And for it to be bridge, the D would be before the G.
Oh.
Am I wrong about that?
You're probably right. See if I can find her comment, because she was here tonight.
Tonight?
Well, it's tonight there in Holland. Oh, I can't find it. It's too fast.
All right.
But
somewhere she's feeling good that I at least attempted.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Or she's going like, no, Dave, you got it wrong.
Very possible. I just can't imagine that bridge is the name in either of those countries from which she hails.
Yeah, I doubt it. But maybe she took on a new name when she moved out of the country.
We're Americans. We just call people what we want.
That's right.
Let them cope with it. All right. So we'll talk to all you narrow-minded fascists later. And don't forget to call your COVID fans Faucis. Faucists.
Yeah, that's good.
Still working on that one.
All right, guys. Take care. We'll talk to you soon, okay?